Welcome to Nothing Ventured, Nothing Aim. I'm your host with the most, your GM Jared, and today I'm going to do my 10 and under review of Beyond the Witchlight, the newest book by Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons. Bang, there it is. The Beyond the Witchlight is a level 1 to level 8 campaign for your characters. The quick and dirty of this is basically your characters go to this carnival, and it's from the Feywild. It comes around to your plane of existence every 8 years, and you have to solve a few mysteries that are going on here. So the two new races that came out with this book are the Fairy and the Haragon. Fairies, you're considered small, you have a fly speed, and you actually have innate magical fairy magic. You get, sorry, I'm just reading it from the book. You have Druidcraft as a cantrip. You come with that. You get at 5th level Enlarge Reduce spell, and at 3rd level, you get Fairy Fire. You can't constantly keep casting them. You have to take a long rest before you're able to do it. And you have Fly because you're small. So you're a fairy, you get to fly around. Really dope. One of the cool things is the characteristic chart. It's a D8, and they have a lot of really interesting characteristics. So fairies are now an actual playable race. I know they were kind of a playable race for a little while. Now they're in a book. So they're a playable race. Next to Haragon, you're a humanoid. This one's weird. You could choose to be small or medium. So medium, you walk, you're bipedal, and small, you're quadruped, I'm assuming. They have a really interesting ability called Hair Trigger, where you can add your proficiency bonus to your initiative rolls. So I can see a lot of people, if you want to be the quick on the jump, like almost like Sonic, like just bang, I go. I could see someone taking the alert feat and having this ability and just kind of being like always gone. Like they're the first ones in the initiative and just out. But the next thing they get is Lucky Footwork. When you fail a dex save, you can use your reaction to roll a d4 and add it to your save, potentially, succeeding. And Rabbit Hop. As a bonus action, you can jump a number of feet equal to 5 times your proficiency bonus without provoking attack of opportunity, which is really cool. It's all right here. They're really dope little fairy people. Like, so you got the fairies and the Haragons. Pretty awesome. Next, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this book. You don't have to constantly fight. There are some situations you probably will have to fight after reading through the book, and I'm not trying to spoil anything and give away like, oh, this is a situation. But most of the situations you could talk your way out of or figure out an interesting way to escape or resolve the situation at hand. So this book does rely heavily on your players role-playing back with you. So if you are a new table with a lot of inexperienced players, I think this is a great book to start because you can kind of break them into role-playing and bring them into role-playing and having them have that option where this might set the bar for them, where they'd be like, oh, hey, whenever we're in fights, I might want to talk my way out of it. Like I don't always have to throw a punch, which is really cool. So here's the thing I don't like about this. In the other campaigns with Dungeons and Dragons, let's say Rime of the Frost Maiden, in Storm King's Thunder, in Princes of the Apocalypse, you can kind of just come out and have your own backstory and build your character with their own backstory. This book, you kind of can't do that. So there's 2 ways the book opens, and you kind of have to play these out because it more or less introduces all the characters quickly to the story arc that's happening. So there's 2 story arcs or beginning stories. The first one that you could play through, which I personally think is the best, it's Lost Things. Your characters, when they were younger, the carnival came through and they lost something. And it's not like, oh, I lost a coin or I lost my shoe. I mean, it can be, but there is this chart of the thing you lost, and some of them are really funny. One of the really fun one is a sense of direction. You lost your sense of direction, which I think is hysterical. There's a really funny picture of a tiefling that lost something, and it's really hysterical. Anyway, when you lost something, the reason why your characters are going to the carnival is because they want to reclaim it. And there's a caveat to this. until your characters can reclaim what they lost, they cannot gain inspiration. So it kind of becomes something important for them to find. And when building your character out, you don't have to choose like what they give you in the book, right? Like you don't have to choose the lost things. You can make that up with your players. Like, oh, I lost, something super important. I lost a trinket that my mom gave me, or I lost the ability to love. Right? Like I'm a narcissist now. I don't have the ability to love others, which I think would be an interesting character build. But again, this book does build on roleplay, which is really, really nice. The next one is a little less cool. He's a warlock and his patron was an archfey, and he's like, hey, I lost connection to them. Can you find my patron for me? So it's kind of like, go find my lost lover. And that's their story. That's the arc that you could take. Personally, I like the Lost Things a little bit more than this one, but that's just me. Play it as you see fit. So with that said, hopping in, the carnival is set up really fun. There's a lot of things for your characters to interact with. Once you're in the carnival, there's a lot of really cool characters that I highly suggest you if you're GMing this, you might want to very much familiarize yourself with that. That being said, at the very back of the book, I'll just show you real quick. These are all NPCs, and it gives you like a quick summary and exactly like their alignment, their ideals and stuff like that. So let's say you're on the fly, you're role playing with your players, and you're like, dang, I forgot exactly what this person is. You don't have to worry about the book. You could go to the back of the book and quickly look up the NPC you're talking with. They have Master Witch, Nib the Miser. They have all these characters, all the NPCs that players would interact with. Story is really fun. It gives me very much, as a child of the 80s and 90s, it gives me a very Jim Henson feel. Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, like those movies where it's made for children, but there's this dark element to it. There's this strangeness to it. And I really like that. I think it's really, really cool. The negative side, and this is something I think I want to talk to everyone about. This campaign, super fun. Highly suggest you pick it up, especially if you're an experienced GM and you have players who murder hobo a lot and you kind of want to start bringing them around to roleplay a little bit more. This is the campaign for you. It's a very fast campaign. I'm sure you could probably do this very quickly. With that being said, I think it relies a lot on the GM. And it relies a lot on the GM to memorize these characters, to prep everything, and not just like an hour or two, but like you're going to have to be prepping areas. Also, we don't have, unless you're familiar and have been playing D&D for years and have like a lot of knowledge on the Feywild, there's not an expectation, but there's a little bit of an expectation to know the Feywild and to understand what the Feywild is. Basically, Alice in Wonderland. That's what the Feywild is. It's Alice in Wonderland. You're in Wonderland. It's insane. It's crazy. They have the Seelie and Unseelie Court. They talk about that. So there's a lot of really cool things in here. They have some more monsters in here, right? They always give you cool monsters at the end, cool magical items. And now, the one thing that kind of drove me nuts and to really pull this book and grab this book is I am a nerd. We're all nerds, right? So that's cool. But I am like a fanboy to the max for old AD&D characters. And the ones I'm talking about are, so the League of Malevolence. And that has my man War Duke right there. Big fan of War Duke. And the best named character ever, Strongheart. Just Strongheart. That's such a 1980s name for characters. So that's my 10 and under review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. So if you are with a group that loves roleplay, this is the book for you. Grab it, play it. Where do I stand with new GMs? I don't know. I think this is a little bit more intensive. There's a lot of characters here. There's a lot of characters. And if you're a new GM and you're constantly kind of creating new characters and kind of role-playing these characters, you might burn out. I hope we see more from the Feywild. It was really cool to see old school 80s AD&D characters, War Duke and Strongheart. I love those characters. I'm so glad they're back. I hope you go out, take a look at this book, and make your own decisions for yourself. This was just my quick review. So we are Nothing Ventured, Nothing Game, rolling dice, giving advice with a little bit of that New York spice. Have a good night.